Hey friends, it's Ruben with Hi-Fi MIDI. Thanks for joining me for another video. I've titled this video, How to Program a Virtual Instrument in Cubase Without a Keyboard. I'm going to be using a saxophone in this case because somebody requested it specifically. But this can apply to any virtual instrument that you have that can be controlled via MIDI, which is virtually all of them. No pun intended. So I'm going to tell you how to do it from the start. I'm using Cubase 10 Pro, and I'm going to open up a new instance of Swam Alto Sax. So instrument, now not all of your virtual instruments are going to be like this, where if you play something on your keyboard, you're going to get no sound, because in this one it requires the expression pedal to dictate the dynamic. So if you don't have a keyboard pedal, let alone an expression pedal, this is going to be a small problem for you, but that's okay because we're focusing on programming this without a keyboard. So the first thing we're going to do is create a MIDI region, and in Cubase, if you have a Mac, you're going to hold the Option key down. Otherwise, you can press this little draw button, or I think it's number 8. Number 8, and the way I remember that is illustrate, has the number 8 in it. Okay, so I'm gonna start on measure 2, and then you can draw a MIDI region. It can be as long as you want or as short as you want. So now we have an empty MIDI region there. I'm going to open up the MIDI editor, and in order to get sound from this, we're going to do two things. One of them is to set the expression level higher than 0. So right now the expression is all the way off, and the way you get to that is go below the key bed right here and click the drop down menu, and you're going to click on CC11, which is expression. Once that's clicked, you're going to press the Option key or draw, and then you're going to click anywhere. And then you're going to click right here. Oops, that was too long. Anywhere, that's fine. Now we have a dynamic level. Right now it's at 14. It could be higher if you want. It doesn't matter for now. Now we're going to click Option K in Cubase to pull up our virtual keyboard. And these are the keys that are going to trigger notes. So I'm going to play those for you. And then 2, 3. Now these are going to be set to whatever dynamic level is right here, or velocity is right here. But that's okay. We're going to do everything manually. So now we go back to the beginning of this MIDI region, and we're going to record just the rhythm of whatever we're doing, okay? Because this is very limited and it's kind of tough to play on an on-screen keyboard. So right now I'm going to play the rhythm. So I'm going to record that by pressing the multiply key in the 10 key. You're probably wondering what song this is. I'm not going to tell you. You'll figure it out. So now I'm going to click out of that, out of my on-screen keyboard. Now I can click out of it or hit Option K and it'll deactivate. Now, one thing to note is that when you have your on-screen keyboard on, you can't toggle through these by using your numbers. What do I mean by that? If I exit that, and now I can press my numbers, and it's going to change my different actions up here. All right, so now let's go to the MIDI editor, and we're going to fix that rhythm up. Bum, 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 bum. I think they're all 8th notes, so I'm going to set it to 8th. And then hit Q for quantize. Let's hear that. Now I think this note was right here was 16th. Oops. Yeah, there it is. You have to be careful for those, for any moments where you have a smaller note duration, like 16th notes. If you quantize it to 8th notes, those 16th notes are going to disappear under another note. So now that I have my notes in here, I'm going to start moving them up and down. My recommendation is that you have whatever note you're editing close to the key bed. That way you can see, you have a easy line of sight as to where the note is. So I want this to be a C sharp. I'm going to drag that up. Now here's a little tip. So right now I have the grid on, snap on and off. You can take that off by pressing J. When it's highlighted, that means it's on. So if you have that off, you can slide the note in smaller increments, and you might want that, you might not. However, if you have the grid off, the snap on off, you can keep the note in its same spot when you're moving up by pressing the command key and then dragging it. Otherwise, you might accidentally slide it to the left or the right. So I'm going to quantize that again. Hit command. That was right. I'll speed up through this process so that I'm not, so that you don't have to sit through all of it. So I'm going to fix all the notes in the right place. I'm holding command down for these. All right, now that I've fixed the notes, let's listen to that melody. Now, if you know what song that is, please don't judge me. It's forever ingrained in my mind as a alto sax song. All right, so now that we have the notes and rhythm down, we want this to come to life and have some nuance, some expression, some shape to it. So this is where we start getting into the different parameters or different controls. So we're going to want these notes connected. So that it sounds legato. Now this is tedious work, so you have to be willing to go through it. Now remember, the notes that overlap are going to be legato, unless you're using a really cheap saxophone. These are going to both be legato. And a fast way to make notes overlap is to select the group and then lengthen all of them. All right, now we have our articulation down. So on our long notes, I want some vibrato, and I'm going to go to expression, and then vibrato on this particular instrument is controlled by the mod wheel. So that's CC1. And so CC1 is set to 0 by default. So we're going to click Option and draw it in right here. So just a little. Let's hear how that sounds. Maybe a little bit more vibrato. Doesn't have to be perfect. I want some vibrato there. Here's another long note to add vibrato to. Let's see about adding some vibrato slightly over here. Okay, that sounds good. Now I want to control the expression again, because I have my bass level over here, but I don't want it to be the same dynamic the entire way. So on expression, you can click any starting point, and it's going to start there. So you can also draw this in. Let's hear how that sounds. Now I want a crescendo on this. That means I want it to get louder and louder as it goes higher up the scale. So I'm going to click somewhere right here for it to grow, and then gradually get louder and louder. Let's hear that. I want that first note to be a little louder than that. Now the next thing is pitch bend, because this sounds a little too straight. So I want to dip into those notes, or I want to slide into those notes just a little bit. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to the pitch bend. Now pitch bend by default is in the center, because on a MIDI keyboard, pitch bend always has to be in the center. That means that you're right on the note. If you go down, you're going to go flat. If you go up, you're going to go sharp. So I want to go into that note from the bottom, just slightly. So we're going to go right here, and then we're going to go to the center. Same over here. Maybe a little bit more. Now I want this to go a little high. Ba-da-dum, like a little flip. Ba-da-dum. maybe a little bit more. It's going to have to be quick. This is where you'll start having to audition it over and over, see how it sounds. It's almost there. Maybe half that. I want to dip into that. All right, let's listen to that. I don't really like that. I don't really like this. I'm going to change this. I think I need to make it a little more narrow and a little higher. There you go. So it's just a little bump. Now I want to fall on some parts. So I'm going to listen to it and decide where. Right there. So what I'm going to do is add a note there, a low note that I want it to fall to. So I'm going to hit Option. Usually I like to fall down about maybe a fifth or a sixth. And then we're gonna make this quieter. So I'm gonna open the velocity. And I'm gonna make this quieter. So I can hear that note too much. I'm going to lower the velocity. There you go. Now it sounds like it's fading out, like it's falling down and fading out. So you can control many parameters within your virtual instrument. This one happens to have a lot of them to get a realistic sound. I didn't even touch breath noise, key noise, overblowing, growling, all that stuff. All that stuff, those different parameters can be controlled in the MIDI editor window. And that's the beautiful part about MIDI editing, is that you can control all these different things, and it's very simple. You just have to know what number you assign to those different parameters. Well, friends, I hope this was an educational video for you. I hope it answered some questions. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel for more videos. Hit that notification bell and like this video, share it, leave a comment below. Tell me what you want to see in a future video. There is a PayPal and Venmo link in the description if you want to support my channel financially. And I will be making a Patreon account soon, or updating mine. So stay tuned for that. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.